Hello and good evening. This is not the Common Book Show, but we're in the same space holding that up, just like, the ship of Theseus or George Washington's axe. I'm Jason. Across from me is Richard. We have Riven and Charles, who is more or less here.
James.
James. Why did I say Charles? It fits. James. I was mistaken.
Do other people call you Charles?
So I don't know why I said that. Because there's a point somewhere, like on the top of my head.
People just make up names for me.
Yeah, well, James is a fellow whose face is covered, so you can't see him.
Has anyone ever called you by another name and you go, "Where'd you get that name from?"
Oh, yeah.
What names have people called you by?
I don't know if I can say it on the air.
We can say like a couple of curses, but not a lot, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, we don't have any rules.
Oh, I thought that. I mean, the content providers like YouTube or Facebook.
You know what they're worried about?
Porn.
No, copyright infringement.
Oh, okay.
So, like, don't sing a song from Led Zeppelin.
Oh.
Don't even do that. you
Well,
know?
I won't
really?
be,
You
I
can't
won't
even
be
say
doing
a line?
that.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's not push the robot.
Fair enough.
You know?
I mean, it's not like I'm going to take a Stairway to Heaven.
Sly Stone died.
Yeah.
Somebody played like 5 seconds of a song. And then I got a notice from Facebook saying we had to shut off the volume because of the fact that he did that.
Huh.
That's how greedy these record companies are.
Well, we are everyday people.
Oh, my favorite story for that was for Metallica when they had Napster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They had Napster out, and Metallica had such a fit about all of it, so they tried to change it up so they could still use it.
Yeah.
And then at the MTV Awards, after Napster basically got shut down and everything like that, the owner of it got an award for something. He walked up wearing a Metallica T-shirt. Oh, they were mad.
That's ironic.
Well,
Oh, he did it on purpose.
that I remember the Behind the Music on VH1. So this is dating me 30 years ago. It was about Metallica, but
Hey,
they had,
somebody's joining us.
oh my goodness.
Let's see if they turn on their video, and we could say hello to them.
Well, in the interim, James Hetfield, or James Lars, and who are the other two? They just had it in a row. Alcoholica. That they all said it 4 in a row. Alcoholica.
What does that mean?
That they drank a lot in Metallica.
Oh, you mean they were making fun of themselves?
Yeah.
Well, you don't see that too often.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you got to know your crowd.
I had a great respect for Metallica in the beginning. I don't really care for the music, but they didn't, get commercialized. They just kind of started out, did concerts, and became famous the right way.
Say it,
And
Braz. Oh.
then they did something on MTV, and I went, boo. I'm done.
Well, I'm not a big fan of the hipsters. Well, everybody likes it, so that means it's not cool anymore. It's cool because nobody knows about it, or it's ironic. That's why I drink PBR. Well, dude, that's moronic. If you like the taste of it, you do. If you don't drink it because you're being ironic, because you're just being a schmuck. What?
What's PBR?
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, I don't drink beer, so I don't know.
Well, beer is liquid bread. It's good for you. That was actually in a song by, was that TMBG? Or was that?
Trying to write it down because it's wrong. I can't remember. No worries. So I remember
think so?
burnout was posted. So I went home and I didn't post.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that
We can just get back in, right?
I have tried.
Who is that? Who is this?
Look at today. Look at the top with the hair and the necklace.
Well, thank you.
It's not Virginia, it's the other lady.
Who?
I said it's not Virginia, it's the other lady
No.
that usually comes on the Common Book Show.
Oh, perfect.
Can you hear me? No, and they were talking to somebody, but I didn't think it was us. Oh, well, regardless, if they turn the camera on or say anything intelligible, then, because I could not understand what was just said. It was unintelligible to me. Unintelligible.
No, 7. No, 6. 6.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Still on the hunt for the 8
Until
Silver
I tried to
Award.
do my work and I couldn't get in my iPad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that probably flipped your whole day around. Yeah.
Can you hear that, Richard? Oh, is somebody still there, or did they hang up?
No, they're still there having a conversation with
Nice, that
somebody
works.
else.
It worked.
Yeah.
I know, right? Did you have the fingerprint sensor set up?
I'm not even sure she
100%.
realizes she can be
It might be a
heard.
good idea to have it.
The fingerprints? Yeah, that and they don't use ink anymore for the fingerprints. It's just lasers.
No,
or-
yeah, it's a laser.
I used
So what we'll do is we'll make a new code, and then I can write the code down. Yeah, do you want me to do that?
the code is ZZZ.
So what we're going to do to set up your fingerprint is we're just going to rest the finger on the button. You don't press the button, you just rest your finger on it.
The best thing is you cut the finger off, and then you always have it available. Or you take the eye out, like you extract the eye, and then you can do the.
You can
got
use
it.
the toe.
Perfect.
Uh-oh. There we go.
Perfect.
Hello. Hello, this is Vienna calling. Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
hi, I'm sorry. I'm at the Apple store and I was trying to join you.
Oh,
How are you?
we are well. How are you this evening?
I'm over trying to get my iPad back because my grandson screwed it up.
A likely story. Blame it
I
on
know,
the kid.
and I wanted to hear your story, but can I
Yeah,
try to log
now you
back
can hear
in?
her. She's not talking to
I need-
anybody else now.
Okay, I have to go though,
Okay.
Oh,
and
so-
I'll try to get back in.
oh,
Okay,
sure.
all right.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Leave and come back in? Why did she say that?
She's at the Apple store.
getting her iPad fixed.
Oh, so we don't know when she's
Okay, I got your computer.
Right.
Apparently she's
And,
not leaving yet.
But interestingly, I saw it was a Samsung phone, so it's not an iPhone. But so the thing that I was
like Sherlock Holmes.
well, do you know that was like
Holmes.
house because house homes?
Oh, you want to be house now?
No, I don't.
Oh.
No, because if you're really really crappy like that, people aren't going to see you. They don't care how good you are.
No.
The worst part of a surgeon's day is when they're talking to the patient. The best patient is one under anesthesia. And I don't have the temperament for surgery or the desire. And but the thing that I was thinking of was the intelligence community, which is around everywhere. And I wouldn't doubt if sometime in the past 40 years, at least once, the FBI might have come to your door. Because you know a lot of the people, and the subversive element. You're not subversive, but you know a lot of people who are.
I had them come when I was 9.
You mean me in particular.
Yeah, because this is a center.
Oh, I had the FBI come to my house
What
when I
did
was
you do?
9 years old.
What did you do?
I built the space shuttle before it was actually out. My dad worked for Bel Air, which they made the tiles for the space shuttle.
Oh, yeah.
And my mother never was able to press his shirts right, so I used to steal the cardboard out of his shirts, and I made the space shuttle, except for the only difference was I think I had 3 engines, they had 2, or whatever the difference was, that was it. But my doors opened because my pipe cleaner people had to fit in there, so I had doors that open. My dad took it to work to his boss, who kept my great little creation, and I had 2 FBI agents come because I remember their little ear thingies, and they
Really?
were trying to, ask me questions like, "Did your dad tell you something about this?" I said, "No, Dad doesn't talk about work." "Oh, well, how did you build that?" "It just makes sense. It looks like a plane. Planes go in the sky. Why can't they go into space?" So I had built this whole thing, and they were asking me a whole bunch of questions to see if my dad actually did anything. I ended up going on Father Kid Day to that work there, and the guy that actually took it, his boss, had put it in a glass case and mounted it. It's made with tape and cardboard, But he gave me a little certificate. He says, "I just need to hang on to this for a little bit longer. Do you mind?" I was like, "Fine." I just went home and made a new one.
Well, because, what's interesting is the stuff. So I'm going to tell a quick story. When I was in Hawaii, so this was about 15 years ago, I was at H&L. I was in the airport, and I was sitting next to a guy, And he looked like he was a soldier. He was senior enlisted, but I can't remember what he was, but he wasn't a Marine. He was either Army, Navy, or Air Force. But we just started talking, and I pay attention, and everything in Hawaii is like right here, like here in Erie County, you wouldn't know anything that's happening. Like I live in Hamburg, you wouldn't know anything. I don't know anything in Tonawanda, but in Hawaii, everything's right there.
Right.
And he asked me, he says, "Are you CIA?" And I said, "No, I'm just a staff doc." Because if I was not CIA, I would say I wasn't. If I was CIA, I'd say I wasn't. And he thought me being staff doc was just my official cover.
Oh.
Because if you have official cover, means you have to do that job in conjunction with doing your CIA stuff. Do you remember in the first, in 1996, in the first Mission Impossible movie, they were looking for the
Don't
knock,
remember that.
well, the knock list, which was the not official cover. So that's why, like in the show Covert Affairs that was on USA, Annie had her cover was work for the State Department. So she had to do State Department stuff in conjunction with being CIA. But what irks me is CIA can't operate statutorily inside the U.S., so they don't have any resources. You know what I mean? Like Shin Bet is in Israel. That's their internal security, and Mossad is external security. So Mossad is on par with the CIA. And but the thing was, what I learned working with the veterans is what is intel today is in the news tomorrow. So 90% of intelligence is time related. But
Makes sense.
the stuff that Dumb Donnie had in his storage locker or in his bathroom, that was not time related. And look at that Jack Teixeira, who shared stuff on Discord, and he goes to jail for 20 years. And Dumb Donnie says, "It's all mine. It's my right." No, it isn't. No, it isn't. And that's why, and the SCIF, the Secure Compartmented Information Facility, that's like a Tesla, or I'm sorry, a Faraday cage, and you can't bring any phones in there or anything. And so the stuff that you see, it's a real deal. So you can't get anything out. And if you're in somewhere that's intel, that. Like, what if everybody had to leave their phone out there, instead of bringing it in here? But if they had to put them out there, like say you had a radio frequency interference thing happening, so you'd say just leave them out there. It becomes second nature. That's what you do. Because, well, that's another factoid. I was going to say you get polygraphed, up to twice a year working for the CIA. But do you know who invented the polygraph?
I do not.
William Moulton Marston, who had he used a pen name of Charles Moulton. What did Charles Moulton write?
Tell us.
Wonder Woman. The guy who invented the polygraph also created Wonder Woman.
That's my girl.
I did hear there were two polygraphs invented at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear that?
No, I did not.
One was approved, and it was run by a company that was very good at promoting, and the other one was a guy in his basement. And the guy in the basement, he just kept hammering away. I got a better machine. I got a better machine. And it took him a long time, but he was right. He had the better of the two.
It's always the basement guy
Yeah.
or the garage guy. It's always one of those. They got to work harder.
Well, but it's only secondary. So somebody who is clinically depressed or who's antisocial, they can beat the polygraph because it's reactions. Like they'll ask you about trivial stuff that, like, did you ever take pens from work, and to see how you react. And then they say, do you know about $12,000 that was embezzled? And that's how, because they compare responses one to the other. And so that's why the polygraph, I always, having been clinically depressed, I can understand. There was a show on, what was Comedy Central before it was, but it was called Make Me Laugh. And the thing was, there'd be comics doing all sorts of stupid stuff, whether it's physical comedy or saying stuff, trying to get you to smirk. Because, but if you're clinically depressed, you can sit there and it can be hilarious. And you're like, nothing will make you laugh, even though it's hilarious. But I had to laugh like the equivalent of the unknown comic, but now in the 2000s. But
There was an episode on 60 Minutes in the 1980s when people were doubting the veracity of polygraphs.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought in a polygraph operator.
A polygrapher?
And he he said, well, why don't we do a little test here? He said, pick any card out of this deck. All right. Don't show it to me, but write down what it is and put it back in. Let's shuffle it up real good. Is this the card? Is this? And he said, feel free to lie to me. Is this the card? Is this the card? Is this the card? And at one point he goes, oh, you just lied to me. That must have been the card. And he was right. Isn't that amazing?
Well, that's like Paul Ekman and the micro expressions. It's the same.
Yeah, the
thing.
micro expressions.
Yeah, and it's an extension of the same thing. Like it's whether
They did a whole series about that.
Yeah.
TV series. I think.
Yeah, Lie to Me with the guy that was in Funny Games.
He was in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, him.
That guy.
Yeah.
That guy. The
What's
British
his
guy,
name?
Tim Roth.
I don't know. Tim Robinson?
No, Roth.
Oh, Tim Roth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That right, and that was
Now, I thought that was a little far-fetched, but you think there's science behind that?
Oh, there is science behind
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
There is. I've got 6 grandkids, and I can tell you, I've done it with all of them. I can tell exactly when they're all lying.
Because that's the thing. It's the micro expression, so you got to catch it.
Yeah.
It's like if I look here, I look here. That's neuroscience about how you're recalling. You look at how people think. It's
Right.
the direction in which they look, and those are things you can't control.
Do you think it matters if when you're trying to remember something, you look this way or this way?
Well, it depends on if you're an oral, or if you're pictures or whatever. That's what that's just indicative of.
I look up and left.
Up left? I think
Yeah.
that means that your mind is more picture-oriented.
Yes.
And then if you look the other way, it means your mind is more word-oriented.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely the visual.
Do you know how rare it is to have somebody try to remember something and look straight at you?
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that
rare.
freaks
I had a
me out.
professor who did that, and boy, you would sit in your seat like, was he looking at me or
All
what?
right.
right.
I don't know.
That's exactly
Having
it,
somebody look
you
at
know?
me like that freaks me out.
Indeed, and that's what. But that's a cultural thing too, though. Like there's various Asian cultures you don't look people in the eye,
Right.
but European cultures you have to look them in the eye because if you don't, they think you're being rude.
Well, don't some animals freak out if you look at them in the eye?
Well, there's like a lot of different animals that you can like. If you look them in the eye, it's a challenge
Yeah.
for a lot, especially a predator.
But that's also the thing. Since a tiger or a lion, they can't purr, they roar. So if the tiger looks at you and blinks slowly, that's its equivalent of the purr. Because when they close their eyes, they're making themselves available to predators. So when they do that to you, they like you. And you want to see the funniest thing, see a tiger on catnip.
Oh yeah, I watch those videos all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, this thing
What
weighs
do they
600
do?
pounds. Well, they're high as a kite. And so, that 600 pounds of everything about a tiger is sharp, from the way it looks at you to its claws to its teeth.
Oh, yeah.
And,
It's like watching a
don't forget
cat,
its
but
tongue.
they're huge.
Yeah,
Just
and that's what. But 2 out of 3 cats will respond to catnip. 1 out of 3 won't. But high as a kite. And they're just stoned, man.
Yep, I have 2 cats.
And
Both of them are stoners.
They like catnip?
Oh, they love catnip. I've got the fat one who gets some munchies afterwards, and then I've got the other one who just kind of like loses it. Her name is Trip. She's got 7 toes. She's a black cat with beautiful green eyes. And she has the name Trip for a reason. She's what we call a void kitty, because one minute you won't be able to find her anywhere, next minute she's standing next to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
James, can you tell when someone's lying to you through their micro expressions?
Depends on the person. I had a friend who had a particular tic. She would roll her eyes and look to the left.
And that meant she was lying.
Yes.
Because I got in trouble at work that it was 5 a.m. and I'd work 24-hour shifts, and this woman comes in, my eyes are dry, so I'm like looking around, and she said I rolled her eyes at her, and
Boy, that would be a tough accusation, too.
well, they would, if people,
Wouldn't it?
How do you prove that?
Yeah.
A woman doesn't have to prove anything.
yeah, that people that complained, I had a woman complain because I didn't know that a urologist in Bradford was the now doing palliative care. First of all,
she
he's not
thought-
trained in it. Second, he's in a different hospital system. Third, his specialty is surgical and has nothing to do with anything that's emotional or psychological. The closest he gets to anything psychological is the guys who can't get it up and who come to him as the urologist, and they say, "Give me a pill," and the brownie made me think of
The brownies?
the brownie because it made me think of. Do you know who?
You mean the
camera.
Camera.
Oh, the brownie camera. I thought you meant the Girl Scout group.
No,
Okay.
no, because what I was thinking. Do you know who Alice B. Toklas was?
Yeah.
She created the hashish
But maybe
brownie.
the audience doesn't.
Alice B. Toklas was Gertrude Stein's significant other. Gertrude Stein was rose as a rose as a rose as a rose. But Alice B. Toklas created the hashish brownie.
Good for
Did you
her.
know that?
But what the hashish does, it tends to dry them out. So that's why you got to use a little more moisture. But you can really, unfortunately, trick people because the hashish is from the stem, I think, like coriander and cilantro. You know that, I don't know. Seriously, I don't know.
Sounds like you do.
No, I mean, I couldn't make, I wouldn't even know how much hashish to put in it. And I would say, why can't you use pot instead of hashish?
A new
That's what they
study.
do now. Edibles.
A new study came out this week. It was in the New York Times, in which they surveyed. I found this hard to believe. The files of 2 million physicians. And they studied their data over the patients that had medical marijuana, because now it's a thing, the physician can prescribe it. And they wanted to find out what was the rest of their medical history once they started using the medical marijuana. And they found out that in the overwhelming majority of cases, they had heart problems. And they had other physical problems. And they concluded that this is the data, all these people, they take marijuana and then they develop these other symptoms, which means that it might happen to you if you take this. So I sent that to my friend. And tell me if you think my friend thinks clearly. Because he wrote back to me and he said, I don't see why I shouldn't stop taking it. It's better than taking alcohol.
Well, now you say medical marijuana. Are you talking about like Delta 8, Delta 9, those kind of things?
Whatever's
Or-
in the prescription when the physician gives it to you.
Okay, because you can get several things. Because I was, years ago when I had my accident, they prescribed me medical marijuana. And they had me go into the store and it was, I could get Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, whatever. And the problem that I had with those at the time, I don't know if this has changed, but the extra chemicals in that. But if you went and just got leaf, there's no extra chemicals in that. So I'm curious as to that study that they did.
Yeah.
Did that involve leaf or did that involve Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, all those that have all those extra little chemicals in there that you might as well smoke a cigarette?
Well, yeah, that you shouldn't inhale burning things in your lungs, whether it's arc welding dust or if it's cigarette smoke or marijuana smoke. That's just bad. But
That's why people cough.
Yeah, and people that say, well, the pot, if you have to compare it to something else, you're missing something. I've never.
Wait, who says that?
That's my opinion. That if him saying, at least I don't drink compared to alcohol. Nobody compares their alcohol to pot. But the pot people compare it to alcohol. At least I'm not drinking alcohol.
Yeah. Now, I thought that was sort of like, how clear is your mind after all those years of smoking marijuana that you would think that's a justification?
Okay, so when I was 18 and 19,
Yeah.
okay, yes, marijuana was a big thing. It was a little secret and stuff like that, and it made you really stupid, okay? You became one with the couch. Munchies were a thing, that was it back there. Nowadays, with marijuana, you have sativa, indica, all the different types that do different things. You have hybrids, you can grow your own plant if you want to, that, and make it what you want it to be. Indica is pretty much what years ago I had, where it sat you on a couch, you became one with it, helped you sleep, that sort of thing, But there's all sorts of different indicas that you can get that have more or less like a different potency to it. And then there's the sativa, which, depending on, again, the potency of the plant itself that was grown, you're either going to be up like a crackhead running all over the house and cleaning the house, or you're just going to have a normal day.
I did
But it
not
does
know
take
that.
but it takes the pain away from when you're trying to actually move around and do things. It does take the pain away, and that's really what people are after. Is just to take the pain away. But you just have to be careful what you're getting. Hybrids can act in also a different capacity, and that can swing either way. Or for a while, you'll feel like, oh, I've got energy, and then all of a sudden you're like, one with the couch. So it's all kind of like, there's more to it than that, but that's about my basic knowledge of the whole thing.
Well, I'll quote the Princess Bride. Life is pain, Highness. Anybody who says anything different is selling something. Life is pain.
Weed.
James, have you had experience with people who smoke marijuana?
Yeah.
And would you care to share any of that with us?
That was the,
Assuming it wasn't
Yeah.
you.
A good assumption. Just the typical stuff. People who are kind of dulled in their senses, giggle a lot, want to philosophize about the universe, and
Yeah.
that's a stereotype.
I've seen it.
Many
I have too, but it's still a stereotype.
stereotypes are based in fact.
Yes.
Yeah. Da.
I mean, if you see 90% of people
that's
have
that's a bad heuristic. Stereotypes are based in fact. You know why?
Why?
Suppose I wanted to start a stereotype.
Oh.
I would just make something up.
Oh, that's an idea.
Well,
I would
can't-
tell it to someone, and then they would say, "Well, stereotypes are based in fact," when it really wasn't based in my mind. I
It
just
doesn't
made it
become
up.
a stereotype until it's something that many people have experienced and talked about.
Right. I mean, that's I mean, the common stereotype are Asians and cameras. You go to Niagara Falls, that's what you're going to see, and they're not casual. These guys have 3 or 4 cameras. I mean, they're amateur
Serious
professionals.
business, yeah.
Yeah, they're really serious. But that's something you'll see. Now, mind you, there could be 10 times as many Asians that don't have cameras, but what you see, that's what the basis in fact.
Now, what is the threshold between stereotyping and then discrimination?
Therein it lies the rub. I mean, that's the question, because I don't think you can draw a bright line between one and the other. It's
It
variable.
seems like humor, like when a comedian gets up and he starts talking about the Asian with the 4 cameras, all of a sudden that just kind of becomes the stereotype because, well, that was funny.
Well, it
yeah.
depends on how funny you are. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Like if somebody has big feet, well, if they're 7 foot tall, but if they're 5 foot tall and they have big feet,
And they're a hobbit.
like clown shoes.
I'm going to agree
Right.
with James, though, about the group of people philosophizing.
Welcome back.
Hello, Celeste.
Hi, I've been listening for a while.
I just
Thank you. I was
noticed
in
you.
the-
Sorry.
I'm doing I was in the iPad, in the Apple store getting my iPad, and it was a crazy thing, but I'm the person that they would, when the reefer went around the table, they would just pass it in front of me. It's like, don't waste your drugs on her, right?
Celeste,
No.
Celeste, have you any thoughts on stereotyping? Jason mentioned something that all stereotypes have some element of fact in them.
Well, I don't know about all, but I would say quite a few do, because somebody has seen something more than 2 or 3 times, right? And then they build on it. But oftentimes, because it's limited, it's like placing a value. For some people, all of a sudden, if they say a silver thimble found in the grasslands of China or something, all of it, it's valued at $25,000. Well, whoever's willing to pay that, right? Then they establish that all thimbles and silver found in this grassland of China, all Black people know how to have rhythm. All Asian people are good at mathematics. Everybody from Puerto Rico wears multiple colors at once. You know what I'm saying? So if you see this 3 or 4 times, you just sort of jump to a conclusion, and it might be based on your fact of seeing it 3 or 4 times. but not necessarily a group fact, right?
Now, Riven had an interesting point. You said about comedians actually could start a stereotype. So can Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know the thing about Native Americans when they would attack settlers? The settlers would get in a circle, and that never happened. That was started. That was started by the Buffalo Bill sideshow because he had to be in an arena.
Yeah.
So he set that up as part of the display, and then Hollywood picked up on that.
Yes. Well, this whole thing about 10,000 steps in a Fitbit, that was made up. That has no science behind it. The guy made up.
That's how fast you move your arm.
And then it all became, we had to do 10,000 steps on the Fitbit.
Well, that's what I wonder. I mean, if it was mathed out like it was 9,800, they just rounded it to make it round. I don't know.
Hey, you put it on your ankle, it might work, but you put it on your wrist. I actually did this with my Fitbit, and I went, look at that, I took 4 steps.
And everybody enjoyed it.
I said, it was like,
Well,
4 steps, there I go.
While you're there,
Put it on the dog. How many did I do today? Oh, yeah, that's good. Great. I'll put it back on my wrist. Yeah,
Right.
I did 10,000.
well, I think that's akin to the 10,000 hours of something, because I don't know if the Freakonomics guys base that on anything. 10,000 hours is mastery.
Well, there's
Because, I could play 10,000 hours of piano and I'll still suck at it. I'll be a master at suck at piano. I mean, but that's why, this is where now my own beef. 3 years of residency training is about 17,000 hours. And that's why I am an expert in emergency medicine, not 500 hours or not 100 hours. And so this is where I stand on the nursing lobby says the nurse practitioner has the heart of a nurse and the brain of a doctor. No, they might have the heart of the nurse, but they don't have the brain of a doctor. I'm just saying, it just is, whether you like it or not. Some things just are. If you don't like that the sun comes up in the morning, well, don't go outside. But it's still there, In the morning, the earth is going to turn. You're going to see the bright yellow orb in the sky. Just because you don't like it or you say it isn't doesn't mean it's not.
No, I think some of that too is control mechanisms. People create propaganda and establish stereotypes so that they can engage people in some form of behavior modification or attitude or outlook. And so when they do that,
conditioning?
I think it's just a societal thing where people clump together for behaviors. And like right now, let's take it to the exploitation level. All immigrants are criminals and rapists, and we all know that that's not true, but it's becoming amid or among, I should say, certain sectors of our society. There's a buy-in for that, right? And so that falls into the category of stereotype, and it also falls into the category of propaganda and control for a purpose, right? So a lot of it is to sway opinion and deliver influence, and that's how and you can fall into your own. My own community has stereotypes, and we were primarily thought as African American, raised in the Baptist church. I was not raised in a Baptist church. I didn't go to a Baptist church until I was 15 or 16 years old when I came back to the United States to visit my parents. My grandparents, because my dad was stationed abroad in a hazardous duty. So I didn't understand.
Thank him for his service.
Oh, thank you.
And,
He's gone.
Well, that's why I think of in Atlanta, OLBP, Our Lady of the Beautiful People. There's a church where it's like they have a visual, level you have to reach to be able to worship there. Not really, but it looks like it. It's OLBP. It's not but that's what if you ask people, where is OLBP? They'll point to wherever. I don't even know what the real name is, if it's St. Rosa Lima or whatever. The reason I mention that is I never saw a black Catholic until I was in college. And in Hotlanta, there's a whole bunch, that,
Yeah.
because around
Well,
here,
there are here in Buffalo as well. There were two because we were raised Catholic. My father was from Texas, and they are, the Texas Catholics, very strident. But we had Saint Benedict de Moore, and there was a Saint Augustine. So there's a group here, but the expectation is, or the given is, that African Americans are raised in a church, and that church is Baptist. My family is a founder of a church, but it was non-denominational. My grandparents, it was non-denominational, and we have quite a few who are Episcopalian, Lutheran, but they don't talk about that. Right.
well,
Right.
the Episcopal Church is officially, it's the Anglican Church in America. So, yeah, that's why. If you're Catholic, that's the gold standard. Like if you have a BMW, because the Mercedes is too luxury, but the BMW is the gold standard. Or if you're a doctor, it's the gold standard. So people compare to you. So as Catholics, you say that the Episcopals are JV Catholic.
We're tissue paper Catholics.
And just like whenever I was on the, especially when I was in South Carolina, when I was on the interstate in my BMW, people in Lexuses were always wanting to try to race with me, but I'm like, I don't have to race with you. I'm the one in the BMW. And likewise, like I say about the doctor, the nurses want to be doctors. I don't want to be a nurse. That's why the nurse practitioners say, well, I'm a DMP, so I'm Dr. Smith. No, yours is an academic. It's not a professional title. And so it's the gold standard,
So are there certain cars associated with certain professions?
Well, I made a joke that in South Carolina, you would see University of South Carolina plates on BMWs and Mercedeses, and you'd see Clemson plates on Toyotas and on Nissans.
Yeah, but in rap songs, there was a rapper that talked about Escalades and said, "I don't want no Escalade. Everybody got one."
Although,
But let's ask James. James, why do you drive a Mercedes? Is it an extension of your personality?
Not at all. If it were about my personality, it would be a Volvo.
Then why did you choose Mercedes?
Because just like my mother chose to buy me iPhones because I have to meet a certain appearance standard, the Mercedes is the appearance standard for my profession.
But they are pretty cars.
speaking of Atlanta and the Escalade, that's last mentioned. That was, I'm sorry, James, I didn't mean to turn it back that way, but it was on Saturday Night Live about snowed an inch in Atlanta and how it just locked the city up. And the one guy says, "In my what? Escalade." And the Atlanta Journal-Constitution said, we got skewered and we deserved it. You know, that, but humor, you know, like with the comedians, humor is all language-based and it's all local, you know? Like if I said, yeah, last year we had a light winter. We only got 30 inches of snow. If you're from Minnesota, you're from New York, you're from Pennsylvania, you're from Michigan, you're from Wisconsin, the Dakotas, that makes sense. If you're from Texas or you're from Georgia or Alabama, it doesn't make sense. You don't get it. Because, you know, if you get 1 inch of snow, or somebody, let me put it this way. When I was a resident, there was a Wednesday that they predicted snow was going to come Thursday, so they preemptively closed school. But that front, because we were inland, it turned, and so on that Thursday, that snow day, it was 57 degrees.
Well, unfortunately, Georgia and Atlanta in recent years have had some snow, and I think maybe it was last year where the seasons have kind of reversed themselves a little bit in terms of the time and appearance of snow, and it's melting away. And they interviewed some people, and one of the women from Atlanta said, "Y'all up north forgot something. Your snow, come get it."
Well, that's, Connecticut confetti, devil's dandruff, Obama's white friend.
I was in England for 4 years, and it snowed for 2 weeks out of the year. And it was only just not even an inch. And one time I remember it shut down the entire tube system, the underground.
Yeah.
shut it all down. And I loved when they said the reasoning for it. It was the wrong type of snow.
Wow.
I said, what? It's the what? It's the wrong type of what? You guys had, it melted. Like immediately it melted.
Yeah.
What are you talking the wrong kind of, nope. My New Yorker
funny.
came out. That was it. I was done.
But you know, if you go up, if you go on the border, you go up like Inverness, they get snowed on like it's going out of style. You know that
Color me there.
you know.
I love the snow.
You can have it. And you can have my share too. Anybody
Thank
who
you.
loves the winter
have
doesn't
mine,
work
too.
in it. That
Where did you live in England? I'm curious now.
We were in London for starters, and then we found a nice, cute little place out near Watford, between Croxley Green and Rickmansworth. It's a great little farm. It's actually on the map. It's a watercress. It is. It's a landmark. It's a national landmark. And we lived in one of the little houses that was off to the side there. That was for the servants and things like that. Days of old. It's like 500 years old. It's really old, but it was a beautiful place. You had to go through the woods to get to it. You did.
you passed grandmother's house.
Yeah, pretty much like you went. There was 3 roads in. One road went in, and there was nothing but this huge field that they would play football on, which of course is soccer to us.
Footy.
But yeah, football. They had 2
Footy.
fields that big, and then the rest was woods. And the other road that came in went through the woods completely, and there was nothing but dirt roads. And then the other one came from Croxley Green, and that one was really kind of weird because you had the canal that was along the side there, and then you hit this dark spot. I hated going down there because it was just like if you were walking and you came up and it was about dusk, it was pitch black in there. And I remember one day, I'm not doing that. I'm not. I will walk down by the canal where there's not this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing
I
it.
think I lived north of you then. I lived in Bedford for a year.
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of grew up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it's
And went to
beautiful
school
country.
in this way. Yes, great. Oh,
My youngest son was born in Watford, England.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
You'll learn a lot about birthing a child in another country.
Yes.
All I can say
Really?
is Man U all the way. Man U.
Yeah. Now,
So
they didn't have hydraulic beds for starters, and I had a C-section.
Oh.
So you were uncomfortable.
You need to get out of bed? That's what you're doing. And then there was the whole circumcision thing because they don't,
They don't believe in it?
Yeah, it's a
they-
choice, but you have to pay for it. And I was like, I'm fine without that, but later on he had to be circumcised for medical reasons, but
I've met people who've had to have it done in later years for medical reasons.
Well, he was 4, and he and his brother up until that point were taking baths together, and he was 4 years old, and when he had to go to the bathroom in order for us to be able to leave. He went into the bathroom, he came out crying, and he was, Mom, they gave me Chris's baby. No, they didn't, honey. I had to explain it to the poor guy, so like, no, you're okay. It's still you, baby.
Because there was when I was a med student, there was one of the urologists said he would pick up in Brooklyn. He would pick up 5 to 10 cases of diabetes per year of guys who had an acute phimosis because they were uncircumcised and then they couldn't retract the foreskin, and that had to do with vasculopathies from
Yeah,
diabetes.
that's what happened to Matthew.
Yeah.
So he couldn't retract it.
Now, James, you know a lot about medical conditions. What are your thoughts on circumcision?
I'm not for it. In the United States, basically, the hospital gets paid for the skin that they collect because it ends up in beauty creams for the stem cells.
I did not know that. Mm-hmm. So you're skeptical of the...
Yeah, I'd have to research that because
Doesn't he sound skeptical about the motivations of hospitals?
yeah, that God forbid you go there when you're ill, because from James's saying you're going to come out dead, even if you were relatively healthy and it was just something like a lacerated finger. That I guess people weren't on it because like when I rotated on OBGYN, the OBs did interestingly the OBs did the circs because OBs don't do anything with the babies besides catch it. You know, they're all about the mother.
Catch it.
You know,
Yeah.
well, all you got to do is catch the kid. Kids are very slippery. And the C clamp around the neck, because kids are very slippery. So just catch the kid. Don't drop the kid. That's all they tell you. It sounds very basic, but it's true. Don't drop the kid.
Don't drop the kid.
Although you can drop a kid from 2 meters high and he won't be injured. So don't try it though. But that's what they know. You know that. But
How did they know this if they didn't do it?
Lots of practice.
well, that was there was a guy from the Nemours Clinic on the Florida Panhandle. That's the same. Nemours was sponsored by one of the DuPont family, because the given name of the founder of the DuPont dynasty was Éluthère Irénée Dupont de Nemours. And now we just know it as E.I. DuPont. And he arrived in Delaware on January 1st, 1800. Flash forward 225 years, and they're gazillionaires, you know. And Pierre V. Pete DuPont was governor of Delaware, named after Lord de la Warr.
James, do you think on the whole hospitals do more harm than good?
I couldn't answer that question. Basically, the thing you want to hear me say is that they're really good for trauma care, not so great for chronic issues.
That might be true, but here's what I think about doctors, and the doctor there might be able to, because I think about it in every profession. You got the top of your class, the middle of your class, and the bottom of your class. And you've all graduated. Some have graduated accomplished in that top part. Some graduated okay in the middle part. And some graduated by the skin of their teeth, but they still have an MD behind their name. So I think it depends on who in that group you get an opportunity to work with.
Well, there's the joke that, what do they call a person who finishes last in their med school class? You call them doctor. What else do you call them? Defendant. I mean...
Well, that ties into a story that I heard on the news today. Mr. Mangione shot a healthcare executive from United Health Group.
Yes.
And people cheered.
And raised over $300,000 for him.
Yes. Very good. Now, so United Health Group is made up of a board of directors, and they have investors. This week, a group of investors is suing United Health Group. And the basis of their lawsuit is, hey, after this shooting, you've been approving a lot more medical coverage than you did before the shooting. And it's affecting our investment portfolios. We think you're not doing due diligence as a board. What does that tell you about capitalism?
People better. That's the face-eating leopards crowd. People that are all in favor of the face-eating leopards shouldn't be surprised when the face-eating leopard eats your face. And that's what it is, that they're all in favor of people getting their just desserts or their just due, you know. But, well, not till it affects me, you know. Because what is it? The level of a man's interest or understanding depends on how much his not understanding results in his paycheck. Something to that effect. That if you make your money by not knowing, it does not engender you to learn why. That, you know, to learn why, if not knowing why is how you get paid.
Yeah, well, you know, this is a nation, you know, built and soon to be crippled by avarice. And it's really unfortunate when you scale things compared to the United States, when you talk about investors and what they care about and the crisis they've created in the economy, capitalism and what it was supposed to be, and capitalism, what it is, you know, is so inappropriate. I don't even have words for it. That it just leaped in a matter of maybe 40 years from a CEO maybe having, you know, X percentage of, you know, from the midline manager, certainly earning more, but not at a rate of 500, 600, 700%. I mean, it's just crazy. And when you compare other developed nations, we won't even get into the underdeveloped nations. The United States is like a whore compared to how capitalism is which is, I guess, why many people are, or younger people are, promoting the new form of socialism, as I call it, in the ideal way, as opposed to the society that we're living in now, driven by the greed that we have.
Well, the thing that gets
So,
my takeaway from the guy getting shot was, if I was making $20 million a year, you know what I would be spending a grand a year on? Personal security. I can't believe that guy didn't have his own personal security.
Do you think that Luigi Mangione, who shot him, now like James said, a lot of people look upon him as a folk hero.
yes.
Is he?
Oh, I don't think he's a folk hero, but he certainly is a symbol of discontent.
Yeah.
And what the guy should have been doing is shooting the board of directors who was trying to sue the United Health, because they make the
Hypothetically.
decisions. Hypothetical. I mean, you understand what I'm saying. If you had a target the person or target the people who are responsible for the performance, because that thing with them suing is indicative of the problem.
Yep.
The CEO did not have the bandwidth or the authority to change the policies. That's strictly a board. So if you're mad at somebody, be mad at the policymaker.
Right.
The guy who got shot wrongly, shooting in the back. But the poor guy and so many people raising money for him had reached their level of tolerance and had experienced so much angst and pain at the hands of our health system. They were like, kill all of them. Okay. Right.
Okay, slow down.
He was just doing his job.
Yeah.
Tis a sharp cure, but a
Right.
sure one.
Easy, buddy.
It's a very sharp thing to kill that guy, and then they start approving more. But the whole thing about utilization, I know people that have worked in it, and there's something called peer-to-peer, because the best one is if, like, you're an oncologist and you need this drug X, and you get another oncologist on the phone. Invariably, the doctor will always approve what you want. But when you get somebody who might not have finished high school, who's going down a
Yes.
checklist, and it makes you got to sit there as you're a doc, so your opportunity time is much more than
Yes.
theirs. When
Yes.
you're waiting on hold for them to check it, when you get a peer-to-peer, that you'll get it authorized. And I was thinking about doing that, but I didn't. But I was thinking about doing it, and I would approve everything. Everything. They wanted to can me, fine, but I would approve everything. Because who knows more than the expert? It's like looking at the control board that Richard has here. I don't know heads or tails from it, but he does. Or
Yeah.
like the reason why the automatic mode on the camera, no, the best ones are manual, because the automatic part is the person, the photographer, who knows how to work it. It's like
Yeah.
Richard or my wife with the Photoshop. That's for people that they are the automation to make Photoshop work. It doesn't have, that things that are automated are for the people that don't have the sense, like an AED, automated external defibrillator. If you had to choose how many joules to use, would you know? That's what but it says,
no.
put these pads here and listen to the voice. Press press start to evaluate. Check patient. Press to shock. Analyzing. Press to shock. That it's settled right there. That reminds me. There it is. 30 years ago, there was a guy in Buffalo who was one of the 911 dispatchers who they do EMD, electronic medical dispatch, and which is they just use a flip card. Now it's on the computer, but they would just go with the whatever's the complaint. Well, there was one for childbirth that didn't have this, and John was saying, and he had that voice, that like my grating thing. His was very calm. It sounds like the cord is around the baby's neck. Use one finger and lift it off. And that, because of that, he was the National EMD of the Year for 1994. And they added that card in.
So that wasn't in his prescribed advice.
Right, but he said it just like it was, just like he was reading it off the page. It sounds like they are having trouble breathing. Can they say their name? Are they changing, or did they vomit? Things like that. They would go through. I'm trying to think how they go, because it's very rhythmic.
Yeah, with the first responder, that's what I was studying for. It's the first thing on the list. must remain calm.
Yeah, because depending on who you are, like I was always the knot on the end of the rope, because if that knot untied, we all fell into the abyss. So I had to keep my wits about me. That's why I never ran to anything in the hospital. Because if I trip and fall and bonk my head or twist my ankle, now you have 2 victims.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think on the insurance side, I think it's so insulting and so frustrating for a medical professional to have to talk to somebody who's, been through 6 weeks of training to, to
Yeah.
regurgitate a script or something like that.
Yeah.
No. Mm-mm. No.
It's like the situation I have with my clients. I frequently have to have a conversation with them where they're complaining about the static they're getting from their insurance when they've got all of this paperwork from doctors recommending and authorizing the work that we do together. And I have to explain to them, it's not that they really care about spending the $10,000 to $20,000 on your treatment. What they're really trying to avoid is spending $500 per woman in the United States. Because if your grandma took birth control pills, one of the side effects of birth control pills is unwanted hair. If she took sinus medications, one of the side effects of sinus medications is unwanted hair. And of course there's menopause. So it's not if, it's when and how much. So they're going to give you a problem doing your transitional hair removal, because how can they justify paying $10,000 to $20,000 on you wanting to look like a genetic woman, and then say grandma's cookie duster mustache doesn't qualify?
I got to tell you, James, that's the craziest thing I ever heard.
And yet it's true.
I never heard it before. It's the craziest thing I ever heard. I have to sit with that because that's deep. I don't know.
I got rejected by my insurance company. I said I'm getting at the point now where I would like to buy hearing aids. Can you help me out with the purchase? They said, sure. They said, we endorse Starkey hearing aids. I said, those are $7,000 hearing aids. I said, I don't want to spend that much. I got to pay 60% of $7,000. They said, what are you proposing? And I said, Sennheiser now makes a hearing aid for $1,000. I said, why don't you approve my Sennheiser purchase, and you're only going to pay $400. See, I'll pay the $600. And they said, oh, let's take that up with our department that does the approvals, and then we'll get back to you. So they did, and they took it on the information, where are you going to buy them from? And I said, there's this place online. They give you a hearing test online, and then because they don't want to give you the hearing aids if your hearing aid is so bad, that you can't hear.
Right.
They just want it for people who mix up words. That's what I am. So so they took down the information. I gave them a phone number, I gave them a contact person, and then I got a thing in the mail saying, we decided to reject your claim. And I contacted them. I said, what was your reason for your rejected? Well, we contacted them. We found out that they are a business that sells over-the-counter hearing aids, but they're not a clinic. Isn't that interesting?
Well, I wonder if that's because it wasn't, not licensed.
It's almost like they have, like you said about the people on the 911 line, they have a list of things. And if it's not on that list, everything is not on that list, forget it. Yeah. They're not willing to go outside that.
No. Well, they're not trained to do that anyway. Somebody else has to help them in that weird board of directors of all of those. I had a contract with CMS for a couple of years, and I got to tell you, that's a wild and crazy. Healthcare in the United States of America is just wild and crazy. That's it.
Although, you got to have certain bona fides to be on a board of a company. And I had to laugh when Chuck Krulak was on the board. What was it, CSX or Norfolk Southern? It's not Union Pacific, but his former job, Commandant of the Marine Corps. That's a good organization for me. You know, that's leadership experience, and so yeah, he has what it takes.
Say goodbye to the people.
And thanks for listening, all y'all. Have a great weekend, and we're done.
Bye.